Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani, and my guest this morning, at least the first of them, is Chief Dr. Fasi Yusuf, lawyer and communications consultant. Fasi, as always, thank you very much for coming on.
My pleasure, Yori.
Indeed. Well, we're moving on. The election cycle is almost over. We're not quite there yet. What with some of the inconclusive states, I think there are 6 inconclusive states according to INEC. 1 has been suspended, so those have to be fixed. Rivers has been suspended.
Taraba released.
Indeed. So if you cursory look at well, first of all, the opposition, is saying that they are not happy at all at the way the whole thing has panned out. So far, in terms of this election, what we're looking at, APC states, APC governors, APC governors in 13 states, PDP governors in 7, following from the election, not counting what was already in the kitty. There are 4 states, I think, for APC, because Osun, Ekiti, Edo, and there's one other state.
Kogi.
They're right. They're already in the kitty.
And Bayelsa, PDP.
So I suppose, we have to move on, because we have to move on.
Because nations are both a lacuna.
Exactly. So no doubt there are channels for people to lay their grievances, ventilate, and we'll go through all of that. But I got something that the president had said totally, not totally apart from the process, but the president was sort of, musing on the relationship that the federal government would have with the National Assembly, and he seemed optimistic that it's probably going to be different from the way it used to be. So many things would probably, be easier to do. You spoke about the budget commencing from January. That hopefully will be possible. So there's so many. Is it too early to begin to set an agenda? Yeah, I mean, the swearing in is still on the 29th yonder of May.
No, I think what the incoming administration is trying to do is to hit the ground running, and to have learned from its mistakes, and a lot of lessons from the outgoing administration. You remember the
exactly. Even though it is one and the same president,
one and the same administration. I remember the statement the president made, which now cost the government a lot, and that it was for nobody, it was for everybody.
Oh, yeah, well, the first time around.
That was a statement that was apolitical, and a statement that did not do the administration any good. Well, the outgoing administration has majority in both houses of the National Assembly, but yet it could not manage the sources, and therefore things fell apart to the extent that some disgruntled elements within the party moved out. But thank God, their exodus did not affect the fortune of the administration in the general election just concluded, and perhaps the gubernatorial election just about being finalized.
Exactly.
And again, the state House of Assembly elections. So by and large, I think it needs for the government to re-strategize, and I think that's what is happening, and to have learned its lessons from what happened, to the extent that, look, okay, the relationship will be better managed, and the legislation will be on their toes vis-a-vis the executive, and that there will be rapprochement, and that things will move the way that will move, so that the nation can really unleash its potentials.
Indeed. And the other point to make is that, look, first of all, it's President Buhari again. He's President Buhari, and at the same time he's President-elect Buhari. So there's a lot of experience, Now, how that experience...
I don't know. Is it in parentheses a lot of experience, or what, in terms of what, or what?
Well, for example, what you cited,
he was a military head of state.
He was, but also doing his utmost to be seen as a Democrat, because that is what he is. He didn't come this time by military fiat, and that probably is part of the example that you cited. I am for everybody and I'm for nobody. And there were howls of outrage, despair, that, oh dear, Mr. President is not a sufficient politician. Because why would you say that? Then remember that also recently, most recently, when he was campaigning in Ogun State, Mr. President also said, go ahead and vote for anybody of your choice. Again,
the same thing he said in Were,
yeah,
Imo State.
Yeah,
I think he was gauging the mood of the environment, and that will have caused some political problem for the party. But thank God that the damage was not too much.
Indeed.
But again, the damage was much in Imo State, to the extent that no APC senator, even the one that was said to have been declared, all of a sudden the name has evaporated from the from INEC list, because it was alleged that the announcement was made under duress. And the INEC said, the chairman said that any announcement went under duress, or perhaps where they could detect some malfeasance or some mistakes or some error, that result would be withheld. So, but in the case of Ogun State, the mistake was not too catastrophic.
It wasn't, but
yes,
still,
but still, it did some damage.
Yes, and people, maybe if you want, in resignation, because he is beloved of him, especially of his party members. His integrity is very high. And so when Mr. President makes what some would consider as political gaffes, we will just grin and bear it, so to speak. That is...
No, let me tell you one thing. By the time we take stock of the whole scenario, you discover that the elite did not play much role in these general elections.
Okay, you're going back to the question of the apathy.
No, not the apathy.
Apart from the apathy.
I'm talking about the response of the voters to the general elections. You will discover that those who actually voted were the masses, the downtrodden masses like you and I, not the elite. Because the elite did not believe in the administration of APC, because they were really most affected by the administration's policies. So all the technology we're talking about, the social media, the traditional media, and the new media did not do anything to them. Rather, the traditional voters, those we call the Almanjeris, or those we call the peasants, or those we call the farmers, were those that trooped out.
Well, that's because that class, I'm guessing now, has their issues with the administration, because, as you know, the president's administration...
The way they perceived the president was like a tin god to them, or still like a tin god to them.
Because he was disrupting the normal order of things.
Yes. And
because he said it wouldn't be business as usual.
No.
And that's the
you
one
can
thing...
expect that. I said that some 3 years ago, that if the country has the fortune or the misfortune of returning the president, then we're going to see more of Buhari that they've not seen.
Recall that it surfaced in the news that Buhari had said that this time things were going to be tough.
Yes.
But he modulated that, subsequently. So this is the whole part of this whole political...
saying that we'll be tough does not mean that the economy will be tough.
No.
It was saying that life will become more unbearable.
Yes.
For swindlers.
Yes.
For cockroaches. For parasites.
And mosquitoes.
Mosquitoes.
Yes.
Who have been feeding fat on the system.
So, but having spoken his mind, as he is wont to do...
I'm an opposite of that. In any case.
Haven't spoken his mind. Maybe his advisors, maybe he considered that, okay, I'll concede that to you. He subsequently, if not him, it was rephrased and,
it's a question of semantics.
Yes, of course.
It was the same thing that was said about Awolowo, that he shouldn't have released all his arsenals or his potentials, and that was cost him the presidency in 1979. Where Buhari, being always very frank, did not miss words in telling us what he was going to be after. And then people, in fact, anybody...
Yeah, but Buhari can do that, I want to suggest. Buhari can do that simply because of his background.
Yes.
He comes from that military background. He's taken off his uniform. He's now wearing an agbada. So he's a Democrat. He's a politician now.
But there was somebody in agbada too.
Yes. Yes.
That led us to nowhere.
Of course. And I was going to even say that... similar to that, he's different in a lot of ways, perhaps, but similar to President Obasanjo, they seem to have their own mind and they will go down their own path. And remember President Obasanjo saying at the time, let me forget qualifying it, saying that, advisors are just there. You can advise. I will decide whether I want to take it or not.
I'm not bound to
accept it. I'm not bound to take it.
The best you can do is for you to resign.
Exactly. So all of those things are the things
that was a reckless statement,
But still, everybody has their own personality. And
yes, but at the same time, you must not lose sight of the democracy that you are pursuing. And it is not a dictatorial administration.
No, it isn't.
And it is not you doing it all. People are doing it for you, and people are with you. And therefore, you must be circumspect in what you say. You don't unleash terror on the psyche of people.
Okay, but do you think there's any of that, any inkling of that?
No, I'm not saying now.
Okay.
As I said in the past.
Oh, in the past.
People were insulted and assaulted.
Exactly. You know what? Let's take a break. We'll be right back, and we'll have another guest, and we'll continue exploring the road ahead after. As we're rounding off the elections, what does the future hold in terms of governance and bearing in mind the last experience, the first 4 years? What can be learned? What has been learned, and what can we expect will be different? Stay with us, please. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back, and we've been joined by Ikuola Omishore. Honorable Omishore is a politician and educationist. Thank you, as always, for coming on the program as well. And so we're talking about just looking beyond May 29. All of the issues still outstanding would have been sorted out by then, but at least we know who the president is. We know who the governors are, largely, and just what happened in the last regime that we hope will be different this time in terms of how those in governance over us, how they conduct themselves. What are the complaints that we had before, and do you expect them to be different? And this will largely go, since the president, he's the, I was going to say HNIC, but I can't say HNIC, but he's the top dog. And so everybody is going to take their leanings from him. Do you agree that the president handled the political aspect of his office and of his persona in a way that perhaps a person who had been a politician all their life might not have?
Of course, Yoli. He must have learned his lessons. Basically, last time, it took about 6 months before compiling a cabinet, which should not be so. And secondly, he also did not introduce some technocrats into his government, particularly on the areas of economy. I am sure this time around he will think properly. Also, he did not bother on who takes over the ruling of the legislature.
Because he wanted to leave it to the democratic process. Leave it to the free democratic process.
When you're not a politician, in politics, you can leave it or not leave it.
Yeah, I understand.
See, and when you ignore or don't value or don't know the importance of the legislature as a cabinet somebody, you are undoing yourself. This time around, you will care to know who heads, even if it doesn't interfere, who heads. You don't ask a chief to man a house.
Yes.
It will be looted.
Well, this is the problem. Maybe the president was idealistic. He probably didn't expect thieves in this particular parable of yours to be showing up.
Because he wasn't part of the game before.
Aha!
So, on a serious note,
has he been sufficiently schooled in the game now, do you think?
Schooled, because the failure of this outgoing regime is because there was no enabling law.
I wouldn't go as far as the word failure.
When I say failure,
go as far as the word failure,
you cannot call this government going 100%.
Oh,
there are some shortfalls.
Yes.
Particularly in the area of enabling environment for
maybe lapses. Maybe lapses.
Call it any, I can be very strict.
Okay, sir. Well, as an educationist, so you would have marked it fail.
Not fail, really. I would say 80%.
Okay.
What I'm trying to say is that...
Okay.
I just say
A. No, it's A, but it could have been A+. What I'm trying to say is that I didn't mean he had an enabling law. No, I think he had an enabling law to deal with the thieves, to deal with the looters.
The accused, eh?
But as National Assembly, both arms were ruled by those who prevented him from doing what he should have done.
He also mentioned the judiciary in frustration at one time, but then was to say after that he's happy to say that he's better encouraged.
His greatest plus was his ability to deal with the judiciary. He has started. But, he could have done better. But no other government has ever touched.
Honorable, I don't know, dealing with the judiciary. I mean, okay, fascinating.
I will not know what my brother was trying to
but he said he can be very, very strict.
You see, we're talking about the issue of the judiciary. I, as a lawyer, would not want to comment on that because it's sub judice. It's before the court. It's before the court. But the point to be made is this.
Because even that, the election has given that particular story something of a break. We have to return to it.
As a lawyer and as a mass communication expert, you see, Nigeria is the most regulated nation in the world.
Really?
The constitution is one of the most voluminous in the whole world.
Maybe
Britain has a written constitution.
Yes.
The constitution of the United States of America, the policeman of the whole world, is like your passport. You can tuck into your jacket pocket, but nowhere have I seen so many issues being brought into the constitution and so many laws. If you talk about dealing with looters of the nation's treasury, too many laws. But the only issue there is that we need to change our legal system to shift the burden from the prosecution to the accused. If you're accused of stealing, you have to prove that you did not steal. Not that the prosecution will prove that you stole. And again, somebody who has 20 billion in his account, you're asking the prosecution to prove that, yes, he stole that money. And the man will advance reasons. My wife gave me this, my girlfriend gave me this, my mother gave me this. Let him prove that, look, he did not steal that money.
Well, because I'm wondering.
And again, you see, the technicalities we lawyers bring into the matter, I mean, some of us, it's another issue. It's a solid thing.
Yes.
And I, as a lawyer, it is a vexatious matter.
Well,
that most times we'll bring in technicalities to defeat substantive justice.
But we have to make up our mind. Do we want to live under the rule of law? Do we want to live under the rule of law? Or
I'm sure the
a paramilitary kind of a setup?
Excuse me, the present administration has taken note of all this. Fortunately, it's the same administration that is continuing. So there's going to be a continuum. And they will be in a position to really block all these loopholes. Thank God the vice president is a lawyer, and there are many lawyers in the administration. I don't know whether some of them will be reappointed.
Well, the vice president was there when we were going through all the difficulties. He's a lawyer, he's a professor of law, and all the difficulties existed.
Yes.
I'm going to submit that.
Excuse me. I mean, they were newcomers then. Now they are going to reach cruising altitude.
Well,
so it's going to be
newcomers, but not newcomers to the law. And that's the
not
point I want to make. They weren't newcomers to the law.
Political administration, political law, they are two different things.
You mean they were afraid?
Not that they were afraid.
Let me bring it to Honorable Omishure. Perhaps what Fassi has outlined. You should be taking the position that perhaps what Fassi,
you are the politician.
Perhaps what Fassi, and this is why
I always talk for.
Perhaps what Fassi has outlined might be a pointer to the concept of the president in terms of it's going to be tough. His first utterance, my second coming is going to be tough. In other words, I'm going to confront these things now.
Yes.
We've been pansying around. political considerations. Oh, you have to tread carefully there. Oh, rule of law demands this. Rule of evidence demands that. And all of which...
Rule of evidence.
So...
You have to be careful. That's not your area.
That is why I didn't go into detail. But when he says it's going to be tougher this time, as I said, that was amended a bit. But even Fassi has, sort of alluded to the fact that there's going to be a much more serious approach this time
to governance.
To governance, and what you're going to let people get away with or not. Look, the courts are full, for instance, and that's part of it. The courts, well, that was being hyperbolic of me. But there are people in there, I hear people complaining, opposition especially, that look, there are court orders that so and so and so should go away, should go home and should be granted bail. But for whatever reason, no doubt reasons of state that we can't go into here, that has not been the case. Maybe the president this time around and his team will really want to cut through all of that jive and get to some of the objectives that were set from the get-go.
At least for now, we should expect a change in the style of governance. The reason is that the institutions that are to combat corruption are still weak. They need to be strengthened in such a way that they can act
but if they're weak,
and be more decisive.
Honorable, if they're weak, why did you say we're about to accost a changed system? If all those institutions are still weak.
I am telling you
that if we can fix those institutions.
If you can fix them and strengthen prosecutorial aspect of all this, because when they take people to court, there are so many, I'm not a lawyer, so many loopholes, and, they get away, they spend more time in in the court. And believe you me, the enabling law that can prosecute, probably within 90 days, somebody trial, which lawyers don't.
But there still is this fairness matter. There still is this fairness matter. And that's
when
the,
you talk about
that's the
fairness,
whole, yes.
In those countries of the world where we talk about fairness, when you catch a thief will say, I'm a thief. when I go wrong, I resign. You see, we are in a hard part of the nation, of the world, where even thieves caught with things and will say, I'm not a thief.
We'll have an SAN to come and plead their case.
And there are so many. They will just bring about 30, bombard the judge, and the judge will be seeing his lecturer in the university in front of him. What do you expect him to do? I think
No.
Well, that was just slightly.
You are a lawyer.
That was just, as I said, slightly hyperbolic.
Yes.
I myself admitted to one the other time.
We might not talk the same way because you're a lawyer.
No, but
if we are talking about governance.
But you went dead serious when you spoke about,
I was a lawmaker, and I know that it's possible for the parliament to help this government by passing laws that will even discourage people from stealing. Today, you can, as long as you can have enough money, bombard the court with 32 SAN, you get out of the case. You can imagine the number.
I was going to say that the judge is not going to be faced by 79 SANs. The judge is going to be looking at the facts before him.
I am telling you
that
it has
that is my simplistic position.
It has worked for them.
Excuse me.
By bombarding the judges.
Okay, let the lawyer talk.
If you have a judge that is a weakling, then it's a weakling.
How did we appoint a weakling as a judge?
No, I'm saying
no.
I said if you have a judge that is weak, it's a weakling. It does not mean that because it's in plethora of cases, or perhaps it's a seniors who are senior advocates, or them who are teachers and all. It's immaterial.
Yeah.
Justice must be done without fear or favor, affection, or ill will. The point to be made is this: what are the factors responsible for non-speedy dispensation of justice? There are so many issues.
Well, that's why.
But
that's why we're about judicial reform.
I've told you that we bring in a lot of technicalities. Some lawyers, and with the days we had judges who were activists, the days of Esho, Okuta, and all the rest, who will dispense justice without fear or favor. We should be advocating for the return of those days when our judges will be up to the task. They will not be looking at primordial issues and others, or perhaps being dazed and dazzled by by senior advocates of Nigeria who are bringing technical issues and all the rest.
Which nobody is even
We must have judges who are ready to
that will be thoroughly
damn the
embarrassing.
consequence of any demagogue.
That would be thoroughly embarrassing.
Of any demagogue.
If we let it sink that there's a concept where judges are
honestly,
intimidated
I've said
by
that there are many laws. The laws are there. What we can say now is that we must see manifestly what is being done to punish or perhaps to nip corruption or to eschew corruption like the plague.
That is the toughness that I am reading
and again,
into the president's position.
And again,
that it's going to be tough.
Yes. And again,
the president left well alone.
Yes. Again, what we are seeing, I believe that we must strengthen the institution. You see, the present system where you bring in people who are less qualified to do investigation, to do prosecution, if the investigation is faulty, it can't be something nothing I expect it to stand. The investigation is faulty, the prosecution is also faulty. What will the judge do? The judge can only basis his judgment on the evidence available.
Okay, so
the court is not the Father Christmas that will give you what you don't deserve.
Which we have heard. Yes. We have heard it that when ordinary people, as lawyers like to refer to them as unlearned people, when they say this is unfair, then a lawyer will say to you, if only you knew better, you wouldn't speak like that. The court is not Father Christmas. It won't give you what you think is right. It'll give you what the whole parameters dictate. And if you don't know how to plead your case and so on and so forth. Now, all of this, there will always be people who have plenty of money, plenty of resources to exploit those places. Might it be that, well, you've done all the exploiting you can in 4 years. The next 4 years, we shall continue under a regime of freedom, under a regime of rule of law and all of that, but no more free lunches.
Well, I've said it.
Very, very, very important. There is no more free lunches, and I can tell you that that statement of the president is loaded, particularly on all the shortcomings of this country. And the body that we know will go all out to erase all the wrongs. All the wrongs that we're saying is against the public.
Against the country.
Against the country.
And against the people.
Against
most
the
of the wrongs, you cannot do it.
Let me just say something. I think it's the EFCC, particularly the prosecution side, nobody paid attention to it. Nobody even, but the magu that is running up and down, when he catches a thief, those who will take the thief to court, they already leave loopholes for the thief to escape.
A suspect. When he gets hold of a suspect.
Okay, suspect. Okay, they are almost a thief, Abi. But what I'm trying to say,
I can excuse my brother.
No, you're a lawyer. That's why.
And you are a politician.
I'm a politician.
So this is where usually both of them speak in special tones.
Very well. When he said we have to change our way of life. In developed countries, you are the one to prove that you are not a thief. Here, prosecution is to prove. Excuse me.
Not necessarily so, sir.
Excuse me.
Unless you're talking about France.
If you have,
in most cases in America too,
anywhere in the world,
that's why a case is
anywhere in the world
dispensed with within 2-3 months.
Anywhere in the world where you cannot explain your source of wealth. I mean, you can imagine a principal of a secondary school having 10 houses. Already, you have to prove.
No, but the point is,
here you have to take it to court.
Yes.
And be laboring in court to prove.
I thought that's the way of the law.
No,
I thought that's the way of the law.
It all depends on the system
our society. It's our society.
Listen, look, can I tell you, the chief campaign manager of Trump, a sitting president in America, has just been jailed. And many of his officials have been jailed. Would that happen in Nigeria?
That's a very developed democracy.
Very developed. That is what God is telling you now.
That things are going to be tough.
Yes.
Because we're going to get more dissent.
Yes.
Good morning, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in.
Uncle Yori, please, I'll be grateful if you can give me 90 seconds to say what I want to say. Cool. You see, the president must not make or must not repeat the mistake that made Saraki to emerge as a Senate president. Because if you look now, Uncle Yori, the senators elect have already started doing the gamble. And this is the stage at which the president and the chairman of the party must step in. This was how it happened in 2015. By the time the party got into it, it was too late. They had already formed blocks. This is the time the president should ensure that that does not happen. Because if the National Assembly slips off his hand, it will end up like what has happened. You know that up to now, all the anti-corruption bills that the president sent to the National Assembly more than 3 years ago,
they were spiked.
They are still there.
Mm-hmm.
They are still there. They are not attended to. And he cannot do anything that is not backed up by law. So that is where it must begin. And then there should be no, after election, you have 3 months to select your cabinet. That should be going on now. Not that after you have been sworn in, you will now spend another 3 months or 4 to be looking for who should be the minister and who should not be the minister. Mm-hmm. Then the ministers who are going to work with the president should key into the philosophy of the president's agenda. The president is an anti-corruption president. Then those ministers who are working with him should also key into it. In the last administration or the current administration, can you remember any minister who talks about anti-corruption in his ministry? There was only one, the Minister of Finance. The lady tried to change things. And you see how the corrupt elite found one thing or the other to ease her out. So this, if you are working with a president that doesn't tolerate, corruption, you yourself should show it as his aid. So the ministers should not just be people who do what they like, while the president is doing something else. These are some of the things that he must put into consideration when he's choosing his cabinet. People who want to be ministers should be subject to open criticism. They should be transparent people. You should be able to declare your assets publicly. Yeah. Apart from Mr. President and the Vice, no other person declared his assets publicly.
That's right. That's a fact. That's a fact.
So that should now happen.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. George. Yeah. Appreciate your calling in. And again, it's all about rules and laws. Now, Mr. George was making an example. The president, the vice president, they declare their assets voluntarily. Every other person just pointed to the provision where it's not mandatory. It's not mandatory. Now, I wonder if it is not that what the people really deserve or what they want, perhaps, and this is guesswork on my part, they probably want the president to be bloody-minded within the law.
Excuse me, Yori. The first starting point is let us have the agenda of this administration for the next 4 years. Mm-hmm. And let us be able to benchmark the achievements against the set agenda. For example, every ministry, every agency must tell us what they want to do in the next 4 years. But and on a quarterly basis...
I sort of took that for granted in the first time.
No, on a quarterly basis, with nobody, even the media that should set agenda, or perhaps that should hold government accountable to the people, has not done that much.
Okay, but to be fair,
there's no longer... Look,
won't you grant them that they probably had that roadmap?
I teach mass communication. And I can tell you from the research, the media has been feeling its responsibility to hold government accountable to the people. Secondly, we must know from the onset what has been the performance of every minister. And there must be a retreat, and we must know. Ministry of Justice, what do we expect in the next 4 years, and break them down into quarterly, half-yearly, and yearly.
With due respect, Fassi,
yes?
with due respect, I would sort of take what you have just said.
You're objecting to what I said.
No.
If you say with due respect,
if you say
with due respect, yes, you're objecting.
Okay, just listen to let me complete the sentence.
Okay.
I would take for granted all that you have suggested for the administration in the first 4 years. That's the only way to move. But let me bring in YAQUB. Good morning, YAQUB.
Chief Yori, good morning, sir.
Thank you for calling in.
And then good morning to Dr. Fassi and the Honorable in the studio.
Thank you.
Chief Yori, let me begin by saying that the governorship election that we just had, I really love what happened in Ogun State. And then I love what is going on in Kano State now. I pray that it stays the way it is. Yes, I'm a sympathizer of APC, but if you have a dark spot in your body, you will never love that dark spot. I love what is happening in Kano State, and then I pray to stay the way it is to the end. Then in Imo State, I love what happened as well. But for me, coming to National Assembly, Jifiori, you see, I would like a situation whereby Mr. President sending the name of ministers to the National Assembly with portfolio, so that those National Assembly will know the right question to ask them this time around. Not that you send a name to National Assembly, we don't know which sector one particular person is going to head. But if they attach portfolio to them, those National Assembly, the technocrats within the National Assembly, they will really know the right question, will know what to have for us within the 4 years. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you very much, YAQUB. But sometimes presidents switch portfolios.
Yes. Can I advocate one thing before my brother continues?
Okay.
Because
you are using his time more.
Yes. What I want to advocate is that the president should adopt the strategy of Olusegun Obasanjo towards the National Assembly. So if anybody there is not performing, any key officer there is not performing,
but that's unconstitutional.
But wait
now. It's not constitutional.
Wait now. President Obasanjo, as you know,
you have a way. He will not go there to carry the he will use his party machinery to get the man out.
It's not.
If we had done that, things would have moved better.
We started off, you're a lawyer now.
You're a lawyer now.
You're talking like a politician now.
I'm a strategist. I'm a strategist for this party.
But the strategy and expertise has to be under the law.
I'm a strategy in political communication.
To be under the law.
He has not said it openly that he did it. I'm saying the strategy. I'm not saying that.
You are debating.
I'm not debating.
Because if you are encouraging guerrilla warfare,
it's not guerrilla
in parliament.
It's not guerrilla.
Again, temperaments will differ.
Yes.
President Obasanjo's temperament, I don't think anybody will say is President Buhari's temperament.
You see, you cannot.
President Obasanjo, President Obasanjo can have a pounded yam lunch with you.
Let Buhari be interested in whoever is there.
Remember Audu, he had a pounded yam lunch with him, and the man was out.
The approach of a city,
that's his own particular style.
I don't want to talk about his style. May that type of regime never come back again. What I just want to say is that actually the first thing this government must do is to choose cabinet within 40 days of assumption. Even if it's too long. Because
there are those who will say the president doesn't need 40 days anymore.
Even by now, it should be compiling.
He's not a new kid on the block anymore.
What I expect him to do, actually, one, is to bring in youths.
Like you.
Like my children. The young ones should come in. Technocrats should come in. Because 2023, we should not be thinking of a 50-year-old president again. We should be talking about 40, 45-year-old presidency. We should move with the rest of the world.
Are you people going to vote him?
Of course, why not?
40, 45-year-old president.
I am telling you.
I want to be president.
And you've taken out Fassi.
I am telling you.
You've taken out Fassi.
Fassi is as close as Buhari. So may he not come back 2023. But what I'm saying.
I got someone on the line. Is it Matinka? Did I get that right? Matinka, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for calling in. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I'm calling from Dutse.
Okay, from Dutse, Jigawa State.
Yeah.
You're very welcome.
I would like to contribute to the argument, sir.
We'd love you to. Go ahead, please.
My contribution is that the government should make sure that institutions are strengthened so that they should be responsible to their responsibility and mandate. Mm-hmm. Then the head of those institutions will be held responsible whenever there are any lapses in their stewardship. Okay. Then they should be given free hand to make sure that they should at least contribute to the governance of our country. Mm-hmm. Okay. These are the issues.
All right, then.
The media should also monitor because they are not part of the governance. They will know what actually happening in the system. But at least where they discover that there's discrepancies in whatever that is happening in the community, they should report back to the head of the government.
Okay.
So that at least measures have to be taken.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
you very much. Thank you very much for calling in, Matinka. This whole matter about the media, well, again, our society is what... Right. He is dead right.
Let me tell you about media.
The media is spoken for.
I have a product of
Wait. Is the media not largely spoken for? By which I mean that...
By who?
By which I mean that there are different sides, different facets, and the media reflect this.
I'm a product of the media.
Yes.
I'm made by the media. I am telling you that weakening of the media created problem for governance. No media has stood up to criticize government. No media has stood up for the populace. I am telling you that the practitioners. Excuse me, sir.
I'm a bit concerned. Let me just. That no media.
I am telling you. I am telling you.
It's just that
the media is not properly holding government accountable.
To the practitioners, to the leaders of the industry, they must do something. Media people are hungry. They don't get salaries. They cannot talk. They are not bold. Even the media owners are too close to government for comfort. So when you are too close to government for comfort, you cannot even talk. When you don't get your salaries, you can bury down good news or bad news. So I think the leaders of the industry, they must look into it. Written and unwritten law. That
because it's the fifth estate of the realm. It's a crucial
written and unwritten law
important
that whoever
if
the sweat of a laborer must not go dry. They must pay their staff. I live at Alakuko. Nobody will employ some media very close to us. When you say, where do you work? And you mention the name, Mark Bao, because they will not pay you. So, if I'm hungry and I'm asked to go and write a news and I get somewhere, will I write?
Okay.
I won't.
Dauda, thank you very much for holding on. Good morning.
Good morning.
Go ahead, please.
Mr. Yomi, I'm very grateful to be part of the program today.
We're happy to have you.
Okay. I just want to support what Mr. George has earlier said.
Okay.
We are expecting our president, you understand it, to be on ground now, not to go back to drawing board after the inauguration of his second tenure.
Okay.
We want him to have everything in place by now. One, the National Assembly. You understand it? We should not experience what we experienced in his first tenure. So that we don't have people that doesn't have love of the love of this country in their heart as the head of the National Assembly. Because initially, many people believe Buhari will not rule by the rule of law. But now that he wants to rule by the rule of law, he must be ready to know who and who to be at the National Assembly.
No president has the choice to rule apart from the rule of law now, Abi. Because there are enough.
No, from his background. From his background.
Okay, you're talking about
from his background. What people are saying.
People thought he overcompensated for that background, resulting in things like I'm for everybody, I'm for nobody, vote who you want, vote how you want. It was, people saw that as an overcompensation.
And he took things for granted.
Yes.
We don't want him to take things for granted again.
All right then. Thank you very much for calling in. Appreciate your call. Okay, Fasi. Yes.
Yes. The point to be made is this.
By now,
he must hit the ground running.
So, Mr. President probably has a very good idea of what his cabinet is going to be like.
There must be. You see, in the past, there was no assessment done to determine the performance of key officials.
Well,
now,
public.
Yes.
No public assessment.
No public assessment.
Because I'm just so sure they must know what they're doing in there.
No. Well, if they know what they are doing, we the masses of this country are saying it is not enough.
They are accountable to us.
And they are accountable to us. And that they are there because of us. And we put them there. If we are not come out to vote for them, they will not be there. And they will not be thinking of second term. And therefore, the masses of this country is saying, look, we demand
accountability report.
Accountability, transparency, probity, creative ideas, emancipation, and we want to get to the Eldorado, the promised land.
Okay, let me bring in Aminu in Kaduna. Good morning. Aminu in Kaduna, good morning. Is it I think the lines. Now, when Fasi says, accountability and all of that, we demand as the people who put you in office.
Positive transformation.
Yes, positive transformation. You know, we were hearing instances of where the president was ready to go in a particular way. In fact,
get to the Eldorado, the promised land.
Okay, let me bring in Aminu in Kaduna. Good morning. Aminu in Kaduna, good morning. Is it the, I think the lines. Now, when Fasi says, you know, accountability and all of that, that, you know, we demand as the people who put you in office.
Positive transformation.
Yes, positive transformation. You know, we were hearing instances of where the president was ready to go in a particular way. In fact, he even made some statements. But because there are rules for society, for engagement of law, those statements, shall we say, were declawed, you know, and you say, okay, let's go according to...
There must be synergy between the executive and the legislature.
I understand Aminu is still there. You still there, Mr. Aminu?
Hello, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Go ahead, please.
Yes, sir. So my contribution is that the president, you know, where he is after 6 months before he constitutes his cabinet.
Okay. This month, this very much.
To me, it's wasting of time.
Okay.
So I expect him to keep the ball rolling now.
Oh, okay.
And again, you should not make a mistake by telling people that he can work with anybody. You understand? So because most of our politicians, they are there for their selfishness. So if they see that what they are expecting they didn't get it, they will go back to another political party. So you should make sure the person that will be the next president is somebody that you can work with.
Okay.
So I expect all the APC leaders to try such so that the government can run smoothly.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. And the point he made about, look, with people switching camps, switching parties, that's going to happen. It is happening. It's going to happen, unfortunately, because when a politician doesn't get what he personally wants here, he moves to where they will now bargain and deal and say, okay, you take the ticket, not bothering about some of the points you have made this morning, gentlemen, about whether he's a round peg in a round hole.
From where Fasi stopped, I will expect the president to allow all the ministers to be talking to the public. Let them tell us what they have done, what they are doing, and it should not be rigid. His rigidity was too much in this government. He never reshuffle.
My problem is that we sit in this chair here, and I don't think any minister, I didn't hear from any minister that I'm not allowed, you know, when you want to talk with them.
Nobody's saying they should not, but when there's a template, that probably quarterly, you report back on your ministry, the public will know what is going on. Then secondly, the rigidity. A minister stay in office for 3-4 years. Does it mean the minister is doing too well?
But if it ain't broke, don't fix it now.
I am telling you.
Okay, let me quickly bring in Shuaibu. Good morning, Shuaibu.
Okay. Yeah, good morning, my brother.
Thank you very much for calling in, sir.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, on a lighter note, I wonder how this man could actually argue out with this lawyer, because I know it will be very difficult for him to score points. But on a more serious note, I think
we're just having a conversation. They are not arguing before anybody.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I think it will be very good if some things can actually wait for 6 months for a better planning, because there is no point we rush into activities because we want to get it right. There are some data, some lessons we need to bring forth from the past 4 years, in which we need to actually analyze on table so that we could get them right. Because
Shuaibu. This thing they've been studying, they've been analyzing for the past 4 years. If it were a different administration, I'd understand what you're saying.
But okay, let me make my point clear so that you get what I'm saying. Now, this administration of this same Buhari is being on the drive. Yes. Yeah. I understand. So they'll be moving with this set of people. Definitely, you have to actually know who can still go on with the government. Because if you can remember in one of his statements that now we are going to move with the most the most capable hands in our government, so that we can deliver Nigeria to the next level.
Yeah.
So I think those things need to also, it's not going to do it alone.
He won't. Okay. Thank you very much for calling in. I'm afraid I've got to interrupt you. I really apologize for doing so. We've run out of time. You know, but you know, I think the point. What you guys have been stressing is that the president doesn't have anything to look forward to in the next 4 years. So he's free of encumbrances. Now,
he has a lot to look up to.
I meant he can't contest for a third term.
So he has nothing to fear.
He has to etch his
name. He has nothing to fear.
He has to etch his name in gold. And what I'm saying is that, like my brother said, we need more of technocrats.
Yeah.
You remember one of the best legacies of this administration is from the financial sector.
Yeah.
And the former finance minister was wonderful.
Yes.
Because she was not encumbered. She was not a politician.
Unfortunately, she tripped.
She was not a politician.
Unfortunately, she tripped.
Yes, and again, also my brother Fashola, although a politician, was also good. But we are saying that let him look at. We don't need to wait for another one.
Okay. One by one.
Sorry,
what
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
Is to bring in youths. 2023.
Yeah.
We should be looking at. We should be looking at how.
I think I was saying something like, was it Rwanda? They say the average age of their ministers is 45, and the oldest minister is 60, and the youngest minister in that place is 31. You know, that kind of a thing.
It's something in
it's not showing that we've largely neglected. They should start to do it gradually. It's not a thing we rush, but we should start gradually pleasing all sectors of Nigeria.
And the constitution,
we've completely used up our time.
The fraudulent constitution must be changed to people's constitution.
And that's spoken by a lawyer.
Yes.
You called it fraudulent?
Yes.
Okay. Chief Dr. Fasi Yusuf, lawyer and communications consultant, thank you very much. Honorable Ipola Omishore, politician, educationist, and former member of the Lagos State House of Assembly, thank you very much for coming on the program. That's our program today. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I'm Yori Folari. Bye-bye for now.